Hello and welcome back to the channel. I decided to switch gears a little bit from the quote unquote normal stuff that we talk about on this channel, which of course is a vast array of things. But I'm definitely switching gears on this one. Thank you to Sister Suzette for sharing this information with me about the DNA data storage. It kind of reminds me of part 6 of the Whited Out series, which is a documentary we put together. It's on our ministry channel, where it's talking about the rise of AI, or artificial intelligence, and all of the things that they are using to implement this technology into society. As a matter of fact, is already there, is already in the works, but they are advancing more and more and more in this direction. Now, this DNA data storage to me sounds quite frightening. Okay, for some people, it sounds exciting. Some people are so unaware of the agenda before us that they get excited about this stuff and they make jokes about becoming human cyborgs and being able to do this, that, and the third, and not really understanding that there is a real agenda here. A lot of this stuff has been put into movies right in your face to just kind of get you ready for it, right? They have managed to use technology to woo us, right? And to manipulate us. They've used it for those things, but now I see it going in the direction of fully controlling humans. That's what they want to do. And it's all been pretty much said to us in the movies. Unfortunately, because people have been dumbed down so much so, they don't understand that they've even been wooed by technology. They don't believe that they've been manipulated by technology because in their eyes, a lot of it is entertaining. I mean, think about the things that they have given you through technology. You have television. I mean, who doesn't enjoy a good television show? You have movies. Everyone sits down to a good movie, right? Even in the music, they are giving you hints and suggestions of what they want to do. But more so with the music, you're entertained by it. So you're hearing this digital audio of your voice or someone else's voice. And this technology has been incredible. And so you can't possibly see anything that's evil coming out of it, right? Let's take the internet. The internet has created a way for a lot of people to step into a lifestyle that we couldn't even imagine back in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, even the 70s, the 80s, okay? The internet has opened up what they call a world wide web. A worldwide connectivity to so many different things. And so we are so used to seeing advances in technology that are being presented to us in the form of, first they give it to you as some type of entertainment or some type of gadget. So they got to get the people used to these things first by giving them something that they like, right? And social media has been another tool that they have used to collect data. So when I hear about DNA data storage, it makes sense that they first use social media to create, in my opinion, a social experiment to where they're going to see just how much information people will allow themselves to just put out there without even being asked. They are putting the information out there voluntarily because social media has provided a social platform for all of us to become a part of this big social experiment. Right now, they are using synthetic DNA, okay? But what makes you think that they are not leaning towards using real human DNA? They talked about how some DNA has managed to persist in less than ideal storages. Okay. Ideal storage conditions for tens of thousands of years using ancient bones of humans. And they said it should have relevancy as long as people are alive. So, in other words, you are going to be the end target of all of this. Right now, again, they are using synthetic DNA, but what makes you believe or think that they are not going to use human DNA at some point? Right now, all of this stuff is being presented to us as a form of help. But are they really trying to help us? Now, before I continue on in this, I'm just going to let you hear a bit of information coming right from them in terms of what their end goal is. So here you go, and I will be right back.
Researchers from Microsoft and the University of Washington have demonstrated the first fully automated system to store and retrieve data in manufactured DNA, a key step in moving the technology out of the research lab and into commercial data centers. In a simple proof-of-concept test, the team successfully encoded the word hello in snippets of fabricated DNA and converted it back to digital data using a fully automated end-to-end system, which is described in a new paper published March 21 in Nature Scientific Reports. DNA can store digital information in a space that is orders of magnitude smaller than data centers use today. It's one promising solution for storing the exploding amount of data the world generates each day, from business records and cute animal videos to medical scans and images from outer space. Microsoft is exploring ways to close a looming gap between the amount of data we are producing that needs to be preserved and our capacity to store it. That includes developing algorithms and molecular computing technologies to encode and retrieve data in fabricated DNA, which could fit all the information currently stored in a warehouse-sized data center into a space roughly the size of a few board game dice. Our ultimate goal is to put a system into production that, to the end user, looks very much like any other cloud storage service. Bits are sent to a data center and stored there, and then they just appear when the customer wants them, said Microsoft principal researcher Karen Strauss. To do that, we needed to prove that this is practical from an automation perspective. Information is stored in synthetic DNA molecules created in a lab, not DNA from humans or other living things, and can be encrypted before it is sent to the system. While sophisticated machines such as synthesizers and sequencers already perform key parts of the process, many of the intermediate steps until now have required manual labor in the research lab. But that wouldn't be viable in a commercial setting, said Chris Takahashi, senior research scientist at the UW's Paul G. Allen School of Computer Science and Engineering. You can't have a bunch of people running around a data center with pipettes. It's too prone to human error. It's too costly, and the footprint would be too large, Takahashi said. For the technique to make sense as a commercial storage solution, costs need to decrease for both synthesizing DNA, essentially custom building strands with meaningful sequences, and the sequencing process that extracts the stored information. Trends are moving rapidly in that direction, researchers say. Automation is another key piece of that puzzle, as it would enable storage at a commercial scale and make it more affordable, Microsoft researchers say. Under the right conditions, DNA can last much longer than current archival storage technologies that degrade in a matter of decades. Some DNA has managed to persist in less than ideal storage conditions for tens of thousands of years in mammoth tusks and bones of early humans, and it should have relevancy as long as people are alive. The automated DNA data storage system uses software developed by the Microsoft and UW team that converts the ones and zeros of digital data into the AS, TS, CS and GS that make up the building blocks of DNA. Then it uses inexpensive, largely off-the-shelf lab equipment to flow the necessary liquids and chemicals into a synthesizer that builds manufactured snippets of DNA and to push them into a storage vessel. When the system needs to retrieve the information, it adds other chemicals to properly prepare the DNA and uses microfluidic pumps to push the liquids into other parts of the system that read the DNA sequences and convert it back to information that a computer can understand. The goal of the project was not to prove how fast or inexpensively the system could work, researchers say, but simply to demonstrate that automation is possible. One immediate benefit of having an automated DNA storage system is that it frees researchers up to probe deeper questions, instead of spending time searching for bottles of reagents or repetitively squeezing drops of liquids into test tubes. Having an automated system to do the repetitive work allows those of us working in the lab to take a higher view and begin to assemble new strategies to essentially innovate much faster, said Microsoft researcher Bickley Nguyen. The team from the Molecular Information Systems Lab has already demonstrated that it can store cat photographs, great literary works, pop videos and archival recordings in DNA, and retrieve those files without errors in a research setting. To date, they've been able to store 1 gigabyte of data in DNA, besting their previous world record of 200 megabytes. The researchers have also developed techniques to perform meaningful computation like searching for and retrieving only images that contain an apple or a green bicycle using the molecules themselves, and without having to convert the files back into a digital format. We are definitely seeing a new kind of computer system being born here where you are using molecules to store data and electronics for control and processing. Putting them together holds some really interesting possibilities for the future, said UW Allen School professor Louise Sees. Unlike silicon-based computing systems, DNA-based storage and computing systems have to use liquids to move molecules around. But fluids are inherently different than electrons and require entirely new engineering solutions. The UW team, in collaboration with Microsoft, is also developing a programmable system that automates lab experiments by harnessing the properties of electricity and water to move droplets around on a grid of electrodes. The full stack of software and hardware, nicknamed Puddle and PurpleDrop, can mix, separate, heat or cool different liquids and run lab protocols. The goal is to automate lab experiments that are currently being done by hand or by expensive liquid handling robots, but for a fraction of the cost. Next steps for the MILE team include integrating the simple end-to-end automated system with technologies such as PurpleDrop and those that enable searching with DNA molecules. The researchers specifically designed the automated system to be modular, allowing it to evolve as new technologies emerge for synthesizing, sequencing, or working with DNA. What's great about this system is that if we wanted to replace one of the parts with something new or better or faster, we can just plug that in, and when said. It gives us a lot of flexibility for the future.
Okay, so that is a whole lot of information right there, and it's being presented in a form or a way that makes it seem like it's something there to help us, something that's being implemented to help us. But to me, for me at least, I see this as a very clear agenda. Most people are so caught up with the enjoyment of, what this technology brings that they're not going to see or may not even realize that they are the end goal here. So this is why I said right now, yeah, they are using synthetic DNA. They are using synthetic DNA, but they kind of hinted that people are the end goal when they said that some DNA has managed to persist in less than ideal storage conditions for tens of thousands of years in mammoth tusks and bones of early humans. And then they go on to say, and it should have relevancy as long as people are alive. So if the goal was to continue to use synthetic DNA, why would there be a reference to relevancy or having relevancy as long as people are still alive? They are telling us right there that human DNA and not synthetic DNA is the ultimate goal. And so right now, all of this is being presented as something to help us to store this and to store that, and to have better access to this and better access to that. They use the movies to romanticize this technology. They use AI or artificial intelligence to get us interested and excited about this technology, to show that it can really help humans. Now, I'm not saying that artificial intelligence hasn't helped in some way, but of course, you have to get the candy first before the real deal is manifested or implemented. So I believe that the goal is for total human control. I believe that to be the goal. And so they have softly introduced bits of technology over the decades: television, radio, then we have music and movies, now the internet and social media using us as social experiments, right? Giving us all of this stuff. And then they've even created a way to use these tools to enrich a whole lot of people. There are some people who have used this technology to enrich their lives. People who wouldn't normally have access to the kind of income that the internet is producing for some. Think about YouTube and how you have so many people who have become YouTube stars, right? Taking a platform, in some cases, starting off right in their homes with something very simplistic. And then all of a sudden, they are this huge internet presence where they're presenting comedy to people, prank videos, just all kinds of things. People are using their skills and their knowledge and making a platform out of that. So who's going to frown on something, this type of technology that has been used to enrich their lives? And so while you're focused on all of the stuff up front, all of the candy and the presents and the gifts that comes with artificial intelligence, on the back end of this, they are working on all of these things that are going to be ultimately used to control your life. On the back end, they are working on DNA data storage, where right now they are using synthetic DNA. But it would be foolish of us to believe that synthetic DNA is what they're going to use from here on out. No, that reference to ancient bones from thousands of years ago and the relevancy still being here as long as humans are alive, you are the target. You are the ultimate goal for DNA data storage. And you see how they protect data now? And I know right now this is all just, it sounds like fantasy world to a lot of people. But if they want to protect DNA data storage, and humans have become the, instead of synthetic DNA, but human DNA, what if humans become used to a point where you're going to have to be under their control? You can't just travel where you want to travel and do what you want to do if you have some important data stored in you. Now, I know some of you may think this is a reach, but I thought about the movie The Book of Eli. The Book of Eli. Think about it for a minute, y'all. At first, I was thinking that there was an actual book, right? And for most of the movie, I didn't even realize. Did they say he was blind in the movie? I'm still trying to figure that one out. But there was no actual book. He was the book. So I can almost see a connection there. Of course, they were talking about the data that was stored in his mind. So could there be some type of connection? Was there a message there in that movie for us? Of course, I got other messages out of that as well. It was interesting to me that they used a black man to store the Bible in his mind, in his memory, in his body. That part was very interesting for those of you who understand who we are as a people and the identity that was stolen from us. You may know where I'm going with that, as far as them using Denzel Washington, a black man, to actually have the Bible stored within him. But the fact that this movie was even used in that way, it kind of reminded me of this right here, DNA data storage, and then the relevancy being there as long as humans are here. So anyway, like I said, this was kind of different than the things that I've covered earlier this week. Thanks again to Sister Suzette for plugging this in as something for me to speak on. But I also encourage those of you who haven't seen the White It Out series, White It Out Part 6. It actually talks about the rise of AI. And you can see how all of this stuff is working together for an end goal that does not include your freedom. Okay? It includes your total control. Right now, we are being wooed with all of this technology and don't even realize it. Don't even realize it. But anyway, I am done with this topic. I would suggest those of you who are interested to do some more research on DNA data storage, AI, the rise of artificial intelligence, and how it's being used in every aspect of our lives right now to literally control us. Most of us, we've gotten so connected with all of this, with artificial intelligence, to where if they pull the plug on all of the things that matter in our lives, think about it. If the internet vanished, if your cell phone was no longer of any use to you, no television, no radio, no music, most of you couldn't survive in the prairie days where none of this stuff existed. You couldn't survive. You would go out of your mind, literally. So, yes, this has been used to control our lives, and we don't even realize it. For now, I am done with this topic. Again, I would suggest that those of you who want to know more than all of this entertainment that they've given us, and you want to understand life a lot better than just all of the news that they are just flooding us with. Of course, the news is part of all of it too. They give us the news that they want us to think about. They give us the movies and the music. They are giving us everything that they want us to focus on so that we can't think and analyze what's really going on behind the scenes. That is what they are doing. So for now, I am done with this topic. Until next time, we hope you liked today's topic. Please leave your comments below. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, share it like this video, and with that, we're out. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.